Hi, this is Brandon Moon with Moonlit Fly Fishing. I want to welcome you to fly tying night tonight. Tonight we're going to get ready for the October caddis hatches that are starting in some areas and will be starting in other areas in the coming days and weeks. What we're going to tie is a pattern inspired by our ambassador Peter Steen, and that is his Neversink Caddis. This is in an October Caddis style color combination for this. So tonight we're going to tie this on a ML 052 size 10. This is our dry fly hook. The October Caddis is a pretty good size fly, so we're going to tie this on a 10. You could go to a size 8 or a size 12. Generally is going to be the sizes you're going to tie this in. We'll go ahead and put our hook in the vise there. Okay, we're going to be using classic wax 8/0 rust thread. Okay, and I'm just going to lay this thread and start it roughly at about 2/3 point. I'm going to wrap that rearward all the way back towards the bend of that hook. I'm going to go just a little bit past that bend, but not by much. Clip my thread off. Now for the body on this, I'm going to be doing a turkey. It's rust orange barred turkey from Nature's Spirit. Beautiful, beautiful biot. Okay. Now you're going to want to wet these biots down before you tie. You can do that either by putting them in a little glass or bowl of water, or a damp paper towel, or a damp washcloth. And the reason you're doing that is because you want a moist biot, and then you want the moist biot because it's less brittle. Okay, I'm going to tie this in, and there's a semi-translucent side and a ridge side. I want the ridge side up and the semi-translucent side down. And you can see I'm tying that with plenty of small stem there. If I had a smaller fly, I'd be tying that further up that stem. I have a larger fly, so I don't need to have that super small ridge on this pattern. So we'll just trim that out. Now I'm just going to create a taper to this with my thread base. So I'm going to wrap rearward again. And I'm going to stop just short of my tail, wrap it forward again, all the way to the front. Now I'm going to go rearward, stopping short of where I stopped on my previous wrap. And this is all up to your personal preference and taste as to how much of a taper you build, or if you build one at all. I like a little bit of taper to my flies and their body, and this just is a good way to do it. 8/0 thread is better than 12/0 to get this going, just because it builds up a little bit better, but the classic wax lays nice and flat, so it gives me a good underbody. Okay, now I've got that done. I'm just gonna whip finish that thread there. Okay, now I've got that. I can start wrapping right now at this point, or I can lay down some super glue on this body, and if I lay down the super glue, it's going to help secure in the turkey biot as I wrap it, so if something happens, it's not going to come undone. I don't generally do that. It is definitely something that can be done and is useful. So I'm going to take my loon hackle pliers that I like with, I use these for my pheasant tail, and I use them when I do biots because I like how they grip it. I can get it to go straight up and down when it's wrapped in there. So now I'm just going to wrap this. I'm going to use that semi-translucent edge of that biot to guide me as I wrap this biot forward to tell me where to lay down the back side of that biot. And that's going to give me that nice even taper to my ribbing there, and it's going to create that nice dark section there. You get that in part from having that specific kind of biot there, and sometimes I can get them to kind of pop off, but trim that out. Just make sure I get it all covered and secured down. Okay. Now I'm going to take a 2mm foam, okay, 2mm tying foam in a brown. You can do a dark brown, a light brown, whatever color you're going to want. And you can see I just kind of trimmed up that to a little bit of a point and then just kind of rounded that point just a little bit. I'm going to lay this down, and I want that to go just past the bend of that hook there. Okay. So once I've got that where I want, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to take this thread loosely, and I'm not going to pull it down. I'm going to pull it up. Okay. I can come back here and give one wrap and two wraps just to kind of help flare that up just a little bit. Now I'm going to wrap and give myself a thread base on this point here just so that my foam has something to grip on. Now I'm going to wrap up to the eye of the hook. Okay. And I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. You can see I cinch that down, a couple wraps. I can even do a couple wraps in front. Now I'm going to zigzag lightly over to my other point. Okay, this gives me my bullet head here. Okay, now I'm going to take my scissors. I can trim this back this way, or I can just trim it short. If I trim it back this way, it kind of helps hold up my wing a little bit if I need to. I'm just going to trim it nice and short and tight, cover it up. I like to round and trim off that foam right there. Just to me, it cleans up just a little bit nicer. Okay, now you can see I've given myself some room right there. Okay, I'm going to take some Ex Caddis Bleached Deer hair, and I'm just going to take a small little clump of this. I don't need a whole lot. Always remember that whatever you cut out, you can see it's not a big clump. Whatever I'm going to cut out, that's not how much I'm going to be tying in. You're going to have some loose, short fibers, some under fur. I'm always going to end up with a little less than what I tied. I like the Ex Caddis because it's a shorter, it's a fine, short hair. Okay, so now I'm just going to take and clean that out. Make sure I get all the underbody fur out of there. Now we'll take it, we're going to place it in our hair stacker here. Make sure I get them all in there. Give that a good couple taps here. Okay, all those are lined up. I'm going to pull those out. I'm going to line this and measure this out to be the length of that body there to my tail. Now I'm going to take and trim these out. I don't want that excess, so I'm just going to take and trim that out at my tying point. Okay, now I'm going to lay that on my tying point. I'm going to take my thread. I'm going to do 2 wraps and then cinch that down as I go up. Not down, I want to cinch it as I go up. Now I'm just going to make sure I secure that in nice and good. Okay, now for the hackle on this, I'm doing a Whiting Farms Coachman dyed brown. Okay, this is a pro grade. It's a white dyed brown, Coachman brown. Okay, so now I'm going to take that feather. Here it is. Okay, and you can see I've got a tie-in point right here and a little bit of bare stem there for a quarter turn to help keep that clean. So I'm just going to tie that in, pull that forward, then I'm going to do 1 or 2 wraps behind that hackle, and that's going to help stand my hackle forward, stand it up, so when I wrap it, it's standing up and ready to go. Now I'm just going to take and wrap this, and I want this to be a fairly good thick hackle wrap here, so I'm just going to fill that in however many wraps I need, and I really try and wrap that right up into that foam. Now I'll take my thread and secure that feather in, so 2 behind it. Now I'll go in front and just lock that in place. Trim that out. So here we're just going to whip finish, and I just do a 3-turn whip. Davey McPhail, he likes to put a little bit of super glue or head cement stuff on his thread here before he whip finishes. That will help secure it a lot if you feel like you need to. I'm just going to give it a 3-turn whip. And then with my Loon ergonomical whip finish tool, I've got the snipper on the end, and I'll snip that down, and here we are, we're done, and we have our October Caddis. Okay, you can change this up, you can add a little bit of different color to the foam if you want. You can change up the color of the Ex Caddis deer hair to change that up. The hackle, you can do whatever to. A grizzly and a brown would work really, really good in this. I just like this Coachman brown a lot. It just really, really works good for me. If I want this fly to ride lower in the water, I'll take and trim this out so that it's flush with the body, and that's going to help this fly ride a little bit lower into the water column. So the foam back here sticking out the back like this is going to help this fly float along with the hackle and the deer hair. So this is the Neversink October Caddis pattern. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and get some of these tied and put in your box, and we look forward to hearing from you. As always, don't forget to like the video, leave us a comment, and then subscribe and hit the bell so you receive future notifications of new videos in the future. We really enjoy hearing from you guys in the comments and commenting and interacting with you there. So make sure and leave us a comment, even if it's a question or just say hi. Drop us a comment. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.